So, what did we get up to in January? World's fastest bumper car update. Back in cooling mode. And what we've established is the exhaust is not going to interfere. It's going to come about here, probably, in line with the wheels, if not behind. Because I think the motor's going to be like here. Anyway, my original idea was to hang it from the top, because that's where it hung from the top originally on the bike. But of course, that would involve disconnecting everything every time you took the bodywork off, which is going to be frequently. So what I'm thinking is just a little bracket down here that doesn't actually drill into the radiator, obviously, because we'll have water pissing everywhere. But that'll stop it moving backwards. And then some kind of device up the top. But wait, we have engine mount prototype number 5, 6, I don't know, I've lost count. Anyway, these are about right. Next stage of mounting the radiator, looking into it, kind of a steep angle. That's our 10 inches there from the height of the chassis rails and indeed the C-frame. And that's the angle we got, which is almost horizontal. Well, I know it's probably about 45 degrees, and that's all very well if you've got the kind of airflow situated like in a Ford GT40 or a Lotus Elise, like my old Lotus Elise, where you're pushing the air up this way and out the top. But we're not. We're kind of pushing it in this way and then out this way. So more like my scribbling rather than the original radiator position. And that's due to our 10-inch limitation at this point inside the bodywork. Yes, down there. That said, with sufficient ducting and funneling of the air, we should be alright. I mean, all the hot stuff is going to escape onto the driver, which will be fun in Phoenix when the ambient temperature outside is already 120 degrees, but so be it. I don't really see any alternative at this point. And at the back, I've currently got it sitting on just some rather nice foam packaging, I think it was, which is a little bit thick. We can make it a little bit thinner, and that's just to stop it sliding around at the back and crashing and bumping around. More of my favourite rivet nuts. Yeah. Stage 2. Well, there it is on its version 1.1 mounts at the front, and yeah, it's a pretty steep angle, honestly. I don't think that's gonna work, which is disappointing. Let's see if the bodywork even fits over that. Well, that was a lot more difficult than usual, and as you can tell, actually there was a few telltale splitting sounds, so that's completely come undone there. Can you see that? Yeah. Unhinged, just like myself. Anyway, as you can see, we got about 3 inches extra clearance where we could sit it more upright. Prototype 1, fail. Time to remeasure. So from the bottom of the rad to the mount, 12 inches. Right there, 13 inches actually. But of course, thanks to the positioning of the radiator mounts themselves on the radiator, we have to go forward. So we are going to have to tilt it, and then we're going to have to calculate the angle or create an angled bracket. Well, that's that sorted. Happen to have those from a Ford alternator mount, which I used for my MV Augusta rear light. And that gives us adjustment of the angle up the top here. Unlucky for some, time for prototype number 2. Hang on a minute. What if we did it the other way around? So what I noticed about these particular brackets was that if this was up here, then it created a high point higher than the existing high point, which we don't want, right? So by flipping them around the other way, our high point is our high point, and our mounting point is much lower. So we need to measure that to the frame and take it from there. This is all looking much lovelier. Trouble is, I don't know how to get in there and measure anything. Well, with a phone camera, of course. So that's kind of 4.5 inches down from the top, which is irrelevant. And we've got a 3-inch tape measure, I believe. So that's 12.5. You can see how calculations go wrong quite easily. And that's sitting at the bottom of the rail, which is 2 inches. Anyway, my best guess at this point is that it needs to be about 6 or 7 inches. We don't need to cut anything because we already have our engine mount prototype version 2.7, which are adequately long. Well, it's a little bit further back on the rails than I had originally had it, but still plenty of clearance on the wheels and things. Prototype number 2. And we have 1/2 inch clearance at the top, which is perfect. So I'm only doing one for now, just to make sure it's in the right position. Once it is, I'll do another one above it to secure it. So we've got enough bogus holes already. And of course, for the purposes of this exercise, we may need to adjust the angle of these. So we might not want them bolt upright. Well, that's the general idea. Shall we see if the body fits? Why, yes it does. As does that. You may ask, why is he so paranoid about the cooling when he hasn't even got the motor running yet? Well, that's a bloody good question, but we are in the middle of the desert here and keeping things cool is quite important. It's been a significant issue with our Porsche 944 endurance race car. Now, of course, that's endurance racing, whereas the little bumper car's only got to do a mile and a bit, turn around and do it back again. But unlike the race car, it will be full pelt the whole way. So now we have the radiator situated, I shall pursue my quest to make it as efficient as possible. And that involves a bit of cardboard, apparently. Or several bits of cardboard, actually. Corrugated plastic, your flexible friend. Well, that's pretty good for prototype 1. Yeah. That needs flipping up at the back to meet the radiator, i.e. seal up that gap. Super lightweight material because every little counts. Just marking up the front for an extra little trim. Well, this back end, cut the split for that old mount there, and these fold up nicely to seal it up. Sweet. Obviously that's only one part of the equation. We've still got the top and the sides to do. Something like that. Let's see if that fits with the body on. If I had $1 for every time I put that body on and off, I'd have $32.75. And this is the findings. You helping? Well, that's taken care of the top air ducting, at least, to maximise the effect of our main air intake there. And that top ducting is going to have to mount off the front of the bodywork as opposed to the fan itself. With the side ducting, it's all the more complicated, unfortunately, because obviously the body lifts on and off from the top, and to get that piece there to be remotely efficient, i.e. under the lip of the headlights there, that'll have to be mounted to the body, so that'll have to be a separate piece to the rest of it, which will then be mounted to the frame. Getting complicated, isn't it? Yes, indeed. I think we'd better look at that next time around. As always, thanks for your continued interest and tuning in again. Much appreciated. If you haven't already, do subscribe down here somewhere. And of course, encourage others to watch my lunacy.